Hello, welcome to Dracula in Russian Lesson 30. If you have not listened to Lesson 29, please click on it now. If you are new to the channel, please click on Lesson 1.
If he be not at the place whither he is bound, he может только change himself at noon or at exact sunrise or sunset. These things are we told, and in this record of ours we have proof by inference. Thus, whereas he может do as he will within his limit, when he have his earth home, his coffin home, his hell home, the place unhallowed, as we videl when he shol to the grave of the suicide at Whitby, still at other vremya he может только change when the vremya приходит. It is said, too, that he может только pass running water at the slack or the flood of the tide. Then there are things which so afflict him that he has no power, as the garlic that we znat of. And as for things sacred, as this symbol, my crucifix, that was amongst us even сейчас when we resolve, to them he is nothing, but in each presence he take his place far off and silent with respect. There are others too, which I shall tell you of, lest in nash seeking we may need them. The branch of wild rose on his coffin keep him that he move not from it. A sacred bullet fired, the coffin kill him so that he be true dead. And as for the stake through him, we znait already of its peace, or the cut-off head that giveth rest. We have seen it with nash glaza. This is a reminder. Remember what translates to shto. Thus when we find the habitation of this man that was, we может confine him to his coffin and destroy him, if we obey shto we znat. But he is clever. I have asked my drug Arminius of Budapest University to delet his record, and from all the means that are, he tell me of shto he has been. He must indeed have been that voivode Dracula kto won his name against the Turk, over the Veliki River on the Ochin frontier of Turkeyland. If it be so, then was he no common mushima, for in that vremya and for centuries posle he was spoken of as the cleverest and the most cunning, as well as the bravest of the sons of the land beyond the forest. That mighty brain and that iron resolution shol with him to his grave, and are even сейчас arrayed against us. The Draculas were, says Arminius, a veliki and noble race, though сейчас and Snova were scions kto were held by ich coevils to have had dealings with the evil one. They learned his secrets in the scholomance amongst the mountains over Lake Hermanstadt, где the devil claims the 10th scholar as his due. In the records are such words as Stregoica, witch, Ordog, and Pokel, Satan and hell, and in one manuscript this Ochin Dracula is spoken of as Wampir, which we all understand too well. There have been from the loins of this Ochin one veliki men and charoshi women, and ich graves delit sacred the earth kde alone this foulness может dwell. For it is not the least of its terrors that this evil thing is rooted deep in all charoshi, in soil barren of holy memories it cannot rest. This is a reminder. Remember out translates to ease. Whilst they were talking, Mr. Morris was looking steadily at the window, and he сейчас got up quietly and shol ease of the komnata. There was a malinki pause, and then the professor shol on. In the next paragraph we are introducing a new word. The word must translates to dolzhen. This is a reminder. Remember what translates to shto. This is a reminder. Remember out translates to ease. This is a reminder. Remember our translates to nash, and сейчас we dolzhen settle shto we do. We have zdесь much data, and we dolzhen proceed to lay is nash campaign. We znait from the inquiry of Jonathan that from the castle to Whitby came 50 boxes of earth, all of which were delivered at Carfax. We also znait that at least some of these boxes have been removed. It seems to me that nash first step dolzhen be to ascertain whether all the rest remain in the house beyond that wall kde we smatret today, or whether Luboy Bolia have been removed. If the latter, we dolzhen trace. This is a reminder. Remember out translates to ease. Zdесь we were interrupted in a очень startling sposob. Outside the house came the sound of a pistol shot. The glass of the window was shattered with a bullet, which, ricocheting from the top of the embrasure, struck the far wall of the komnata. I am afraid I am at heart a coward, for I shrieked these. The men all jumped to ich feet. Lord Godalming flew over to the window and threw up the sash. As he did so, we heard Mr. Morris's voice without. Sorry, I fear I have alarmed you. I shall prichadit in and tell you o it. A minute later he came in and said, This is a reminder. Remember must translates to dolzhen. This is a reminder. Remember out translates to ease. It was an idiotic thing of me to do. and I ask tvoy pardon, Mrs. Harker, most sincerely. I fear I Dolgen have frightened you terribly. But the fact is that whilst the professor was talking, there came a big bat and sat on the window-sill. I have got such a horror of the damned brutes from recent events that I cannot stand them, and I should ease to have a shot, as I have been doing of late of evenings, whenever I have seen one. You used to laugh at me for it then, Art. Did you hit it? Asked Dr. Van Helsing. I don't znut. I fancy not, for it flew away of the wood. Without saying Luboy Bole, he vzal his seat, and the professor began to resume his statement. This is a reminder. Remember must translates to Dolgen. We Dolgen trace each of these boxes, and when we are ready, we Dolgen either capture or kill this monster in his lair, or we Dolgen, so to speak, sterilize the earth, so that no Bole he morshet seek safety in it. Thus in the end we may find him in his form of Mushima between the hours of noon and sunset, and so engage with him when he is at his most weak. This is a reminder. Remember must translates to Dolgen. This is a reminder. Remember our translates to Nash. And сейчас for you, Madam Mina, this noche is the end until all be well. You are too precious to us to have such risk. When we part tonight, you know Bole Dolgen question. We shall tell you all in Haroshi Vreme. We are men and are able to bear, but you Dolgen be nash star and nash hope, and we shall act all the Bole free that you are not in the danger, such as we are. All the men, even Jonathan, seemed relieved, but it did not seem to me Haroshi that they Dolgen brave danger, and perhaps, lessen ich safety, strength being the best safety through care of me, but ich minds were still up, and though it was a bitter pill for me to swallow, I could say nothing, save to accept ich chivalrous care of me. Mr. Morris resumed the discussion. This is a reminder. Remember our translates to Nash. As there is no Vreme to lose, I vote we have a smatrate at his house, right сейчас. Vreme is everything with him, and swift action on Nash part may save another victim. This is a reminder. Remember out translates to ease. I own that my heart began to fail me when the Vreme for action came so close, but I did not say anything, for I had a greater fear that if I appeared as a drag or a hindrance to ich work, they might even leave me ease of ich counsels altogether. They have сейчас gone off to Carfax with means to get the house. Manlike, they had told me to eat tea, to bed and sput, as if a woman morshet sput when those she loves are in danger. I shall lie knees and pretend to sput, lest Jonathan have added anxiety on me when he returns. Dr. Seward's Diary. For October, 4th a.m., just as we were to leave the house, an urgent message was brought to me from Renfield to Znat if I would visit him at Adin Ras, as he had something of the utmost importance to say to me. I told the messenger to say that I would attend to his wishes in the morning. I was busy just at the moment. The attendant added, This is a reminder. Remember what translates to Sto. He seems очень importunate, sir. I have never seen him so eager. I don't znать, but Sto, if you don't visit him soon, he will have one of his violent fits. I knew the Mushima would not have said this without some cause, so I said, All right, I'll at tea now. And I asked the others to wait a few minutes for me, as I had to at tea and visit my patient. This is a reminder. Remember our translates to Nash. Take me with you, Druk John, said the professor. His case in tvoj diary interested me much, and it had bearing too, сейчас and snova on Nash case. I Dolgen much like to visit him, and especial when his mind is disturbed. May I prichadit also? Asked Lord Godalming. Me too, said Quincy Morris. May I come? Said Harker. I nodded, and we all sholvneezed the passage together. We found him in a state of considerable excitement, but far bole irrational in his speech and manner than I had ever seen him. There was an unusual understanding of himself, which was unlike anything I had ever met with in a lunatic, and he vzal it for granted that his reasons would prevail with others entirely sane. We all four sholved the komnata, but none of the others at first said anything. His request was that I would at Adin Ras release him from the asylum and send him home. This he backed up with arguments regarding his complete recovery and adduced his own existing sanity. I appealed to tvoj friends, he said. They will, perhaps, not mind sitting in judgment on my case. By the sposob, you have not introduced me. I was so much astonished that the oddness of introducing a madman in an asylum did not strike me at the moment, and besides, there was a certain dignity in the man's manner, so much of the habit of equality, that I, at Adin Ras Dil, the introduction, Lord Godalming, Professor Van Helsing, Mr. Quincy Morris of Texas, Mr. Renfield. He shook hands with each of them, saying in turn, "This is a reminder. Remember what translates to Sto." Lord Godalming, I had the honor of seconding Tvoi father at the Wyndham. I grieve 'tis night, by Tvoi holding the title, that he is no bolea. He was a Mushima loved and honored by all Kto knew him, and in his youth was, I have heard, the inventor of a burnt rum punch, much patronized on Derby Noche. Mr. Morris, you dolgen be proud of Tvoi Veliki state. Its reception of the Union was a precedent which may have far-reaching effects hereafter, when the pole and the tropics may hold alliance to the stars and stripes. The power of treaty may yet prove a vast engine of enlargement, when the Monroe Doctrine takes its true place as a political fable. Što shall Luboy Mushima say of his pleasure at meeting Van Helsing? Sir, deal it no apology for dropping all forms of conventional prefix. When an individual has revolutionized therapeutics by his discovery of the continuous evolution of brain matter, conventional forms are unfitting, since they would seem to limit him to one of a class. You, gentlemen, Kto by nationality, by heredity, or by the possession of natural gifts, are fitted to hold Tvoi respective places in the moving world. I take to witness that I am as sane as at least the majority of men Kto are in full possession of each liberties. And I am sure that you, Dr. Seward, humanitarian and medico-jurist as well as scientist, will deem it a moral duty to deal with me as one to be considered as under exceptional circumstances. He's dealt this last appeal with a courtly air of conviction, which was not without its own charm. This is a reminder. Remember what translates to Sto. I doom it we were all staggered. For my own part, I was under the conviction, despite my knowledge of the man's character and history, that his reason had been restored, and I felt under a strong impulse to tell him that I was satisfied as to his sanity, and would vidit all the necessary formalities for his release in the morning. I thought it better to wait, however, though making so grave a statement, for of Stari I knew the sudden changes to which this particular patient was liable. So I contented myself with making a general statement that he appeared to be improving очень rapidly, that I would have a longer chat with him in the morning, and would then vidit что I could do in the direction of meeting his wishes. This did not at all satisfy him, for he said quickly, "But I fear, Dr. Seward, that you hardly apprehend my wish. I desire to eat at once here, now, this очень hour, this очень moment, if I may. Время presses, and in Nash implied agreement with the Stari Scytheman, it is of the essence of the contract. I am sure it is только necessary to put do so admirable a practitioner as Dr. Seward so simple yet so momentous a wish to ensure its fulfillment." He looked at me keenly, and seeing the negative in my litso, turned to the others and scrutinized them closely. Not meeting Luboy's sufficient response, he shol on. "Is it possible that I have erred in my supposition?" "You have," I said frankly, but at the same vreme, as I felt, brutally. There was a considerable pause, and then he said slowly, "This is a reminder. Remember must translates to dolgen. This is a reminder. Remember what translates to Sto. Then I suppose I dolgen tolka shift my ground of request. Let me ask for this concession, boon, privilege, Sto you will. I am content to implore in such a case, not on personal grounds, but for the sake of others. I am not at liberty to give you the whole of my reasons, but you may, I assure you, take it from me that they are haroshi ones, sound and unselfish, and spring from the highest sense of duty. Could you smatrate, sir, of my heart, you would approve to the full the sentiments which animate me. Nay, bolie, you would count me amongst the best and truest of Tvoi friends." Snova he looked at us all keenly. I had a growing conviction that this sudden change of his entire intellectual method was but yet another form or phase of his madness, and so determined to let him iti on a malinki longer, knowing from experience that he would, like all lunatics, give himself away in the end. Van Helsing was gazing at him with a smatrate of utmost intensity, his bushy eyebrows almost meeting with the fixed concentration of his smatrate. He said to Renfield in a tone which did not surprise me at the vreme, but tolka when I thought of it afterwards, for it was as of one addressing an equal, "Can you not tell frankly Tvoi real reason for wishing to be free tonight? I will undertake that if you will satisfy even me, a stranger without prejudice and with the habit of keeping an open mind, Dr. Seward will give you, at his own risk and on his own responsibility, the privilege you seek. He shook his head sadly, and with a smatret of poignant regret on his litso. The professor shol on. Come, sir, bethink yourself. You claim the privilege of reason in the highest degree, since you seek to impress us with tvoi complete reasonableness. You do this, whose sanity we have reason to doubt, since you are not yet released from medical treatment for this ochin defect. If you will not help us in nash effort to choose the wisest course, kak может we perform the duty which you yourself put upon us. Be wise and help us, and if we может we shall aid you to achieve tvoi wish. He still shook his head as he said, Dr. Van Helsing, I have nothing to say. Tvoi argument is complete, and if I were free to speak, I does not hesitate a moment, but I am not my own master in the matter. I может только ask you to trust me. If I am refused, the responsibility does not rest with me. I thought it was сейчас время to end the scene, which was becoming too comically grave, so I shol towards the dvied, simply saying, Come, my friends, we have work to do. Good night. In the next paragraph, we are introducing a new word. The word up translates to virch. As, however, I got near the dvied, a new change came over the patient. He moved towards me so quickly that for the moment I feared that he was to deal it another homicidal attack. My fears, however, were groundless, for he held virch his two hands imploringly, and still his petition in a moving manner. As he videl that the ochin excess of his emotion was militating against him, by restoring us bolje to nash stari relations, he became still bolje demonstrative. I glanced at Van Helsing and videl my conviction reflected in his glaza, so I became a malinki bolje fixed in my manner, if not bolje stern, and motioned to him that his efforts were unavailing. I had previously seen something of the same constantly growing excitement in him, when he had to deal at some request of which at the vreme he had thought much, such, for instance, as when he wanted a cat, and I was prepared to visit the collapse of the same sullen acquiescence on this occasion. My expectation was not realized, for when he found that his appeal would not be successful, he got quite a frantic condition. He threw himself on his knees and held virch his hands, wringing them in plaintive supplication, and poured forth a torrent of entreaty, with the tears rolling knees his cheeks, and his whole litso and form expressive of the deepest emotion. This is a reminder. Remember out translates to ease. This is a reminder. Remember what translates to shto. Let me entreat you, Dr. Seward. Oh, let me implore you to let me ease of this house at a dineras. Send me away, kak you will, and gde you will. Send keepers with me with whips and chains. Let them take me in a straight waistcoat, manacled and leg-ironed, even to a gale. But let me ease of this. You don't znat shto you do by keeping me zdесь. I am speaking from the depths of my heart, of my ochin soul. You don't znat whom you wrong or kak, and I may not tell. Woe is me, I may not tell. By all you hold sacred, by all you hold dear, by tvoi love that is lost, by tvoi hope that lives, for the sake of the Almighty, take me ease of this and save my soul from guilt. Can't you hear me, Mushima? Can't you understand? Will you never learn? Don't you znat that I am sane and earnest сейчас, that I am no lunatic in a mad fit, but a sane Mushima fighting for his soul? Oh, hear me, hear me. Let me let me go. This is a reminder. Remember, up translates to virch. I thought that the longer this shell on the wilder he would get, and so would bring on a fit, so I vzal him by the hand and raised him virch. Come, I said sternly, no bolje of this. We have had quite enough already. Get to tvoi bed and try to behave bolje discreetly. He suddenly stopped and looked at me intently for several moments. Then, without a word, he rose and moving over, sat knees on the side of the bed. The collapse had prichadit, as on former occasion, just as I had expected. When I was leaving the komnata, last of nash party, he said to me in a quiet, well-bred voice, This is a reminder. Remember what translates to shto. You will, I trust, Dr. Seward, do me the justice to bear in mind, later on, that I did shto I could to convince you tonight. Chapter 19. Jonathan Harker's Journal, October 5th a.m. I shol with the party to the search with an easy mind, for I doom it. I never vidil Mina so absolutely strong and well. I am so glad that she consented to hold Nazat and let us men do the work. Somehow, it was a dread to me that she was in this fearful business at all, but сейчас that her work is done, and that it is due to her energy and brains and foresight that the whole story is put together in such a sposob that every point tells she may well feel that her part is finished, and that she может henceforth leave the rest to us. We were, I doom it, all a malinki upset by the scene with Mr. Renfield. When we came away from his komnata, we were silent till we got nazad to the study. Then Mr. Morris said to Dr. Seward, "Say, Jack, if that Mushima wasn't attempting a bluff, he is the sanest lunatic I ever vigil. I'm not sure, but I believe that he had some serious purpose, and if he had, it was pretty rough on him not to get a chance.